This is CTO Insights, a podcast on engineering leadership. I'm Katerina, your host, and I will be bringing you insights from senior engineering leaders and experts on creating a culture of high performance. Today, I have the pleasure to talk to Gregor Ojstersek. He's the CTO at Zarion, a fintech startup offering exclusive investments in pre-IPO companies. He's also the author of the Engineering Leadership newsletter, where he helps over 70,000 people become great engineering leaders with his weekly insights. Today, we kick off with some less popular opinions about what makes a high-performing engineer. We talk about the importance of culture and relationships within the teams, empathy, and then progress versus perfection as some of the most important factors for team performance. We also discuss how deadlines can contribute to team performance and what can managers do to foster a high-performing environment. Hint, it's not by adding yet another metric. This episode is brought to you by Adiva, a global talent network that I founded back in 2014, which connects the world's best companies with the world's best tech talent. At Adiva, we provide access to a global network of top-tier tech and product talent ready to hit the ground running. With the ability to introduce a candidate within 24 hours and an exceptional 98% success rate in trial engagements, Adiva offers the flexibility for companies to scale their teams up or down as needed. If you're looking to expand your team, drive momentum in new projects, or need to backfill a role, Adiva might just be the solution you need. Visit adivait.com to get started. Gregor, welcome. It's a pleasure to have you here today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Let's start with kind of an overview of what you think are the most important factors that impact team performance or individual performance. You have a newsletter that's read by over 70,000 people on a weekly basis. You've been doing some heavy research on it. You've had your personal experience, stories that are shared with you. Just a quick summary, if you can.
Yeah, we could probably talk about this for a long time because there's so many factors that comes into play when we're talking about team and individual performance. But as far as my, let's say, 10 plus years experience in the engineering industry and growing from engineer and also to engineering leader, I know from both sides, from the manager perspective and also from the IC perspective. So great culture is always very important, and atmosphere inside a team and the overall organization, that's crucial. Without it, it's kind of a prerequisite for everything else. Without it, it's hard to be doing good work, especially consistently, because if there's like problems inside a company, inside the organization, inside a team, it's hard for you to focus on actually what's really important, that is to build the right things. And then also, good process and good development experience, that's very important. You need to have a good process in place that is going to resolve any kind of blockers, any kind of issues that people might have, that, everyone can move fast and make things happen. And, also you should avoid having flaky end-to-end tasks or having a bad development environment, because that's going to slow down everyone. I used to work on a project where it took around 30 seconds to actually reload the application every time you make a change, and it's a pain to work in such environment. And we can talk about more things like alignment with the business and the teams, and of course individuals understanding the business, that's very important. Then of course individual mindset is very crucial. You need to be a team player, taking ownership and responsibility, and always learning and improving mindset. That's very important.
I love how you have some bold opinions on this topic, and you share them all in your newsletter. And I love the angle. So talking about culture and teamwork and things that are not you didn't even mention the technical capacity or the seniority of the team members, or things that commonly come to mind first when creating that high performing team. So companies tend to go and hire the top performing engineers or the best individuals. They put them together in a
Yeah.
team, and oftentimes they cannot work together because they are all, very experienced, very senior, very opinionated, sometimes not able to collaborate or find compromises together and stuff. And there is one thing in your newsletter where you say the 10x developer is actually the
Mm,
developer that has the most empathy, or it was
mm.
something in that regard.
Yeah.
Can you elaborate more on that?
Yeah, it's something that I strongly believe in, and it's not something that I try to share things that are not just plain what everyone else is saying, but what I see from my experience, and when I lead teams. And the best teams are the ones that have a good relationship with each other, that can collaborate well together, and that can, together create things and build the right things together. If you have like one technically amazing engineer and they don't collaborate with others effectively, it can cause a lot more problems than actually good things. So empathy plays a big role in this, and without empathy, it's hard to collaborate effectively with others. You can be the best. You can be the best in React. You can be the best in Python, in Django framework, or in C Sharp. But if you don't share this knowledge with others, it's going to be a waste of your
Mm,
knowledge, right? It's going to be a waste of your skill set. So the actual people, the actual 10x engineers, are the ones that are multiplying their efforts and making others around them better, right? Not just with your individual contribution and you coding, you can increase your impact by a certain percentage, but if you help like 5 or 10 people or 20 people or 100 people around you to be better, then you can guess how much bigger the impact
yeah,
is.
I love it. If we talk about all of this in practice, what are some things, if you were to advise a CTO or an engineering leader on how to structure the team or how to empower good relationships or empathy or hire for these things, really?
Yeah.
How would you approach it?
Yeah, it's a very interesting topic because it's not so straightforward. You can't just, for example, you can't just put coding challenges on the technical interview and expect that you're going to get a person that's going to be highly motivated, highly driven, that's going to be have a great empathy, that is going to be collaborating well with others. You need to curate your interview in a way that is going to showcase such skills. And I'm not a big fan of having like, for example, algorithms in technical interviews. I rather talk with specific individuals more openly about problems, about specific solutions, about how they would approach it, and how would they get others involved. Let's say their team involved. How would they onboard like a new person to the project? How would they make sure that stakeholders are going to have all the necessary things that they need in order to be successful, and how are they going to execute this potential project within the timeline and with the correct scope as well? How are they going to create a first iteration, second iteration, third iteration? Those kind of conversations give me a lot better insights of who I am talking to and what they can bring to the table. Not just technical skills, but also how they approach to managing a project, finishing a project, and so on. And what really helps me here is to focus on not only on the answers, but also on the way they are giving answers. If you talk about different frameworks, different technologies, I always look for, are they excited about it? Are they love to learn new things and stuff like that? How do they talk about helping others versus their own contribution? Because if you can clearly see like a person that is just focused on themselves, they will just be okay, I need to finish this task and I will finish this, but they won't think about how to include others and how to make sure that others also are going to be doing good work. So that's about the hiring process. About the teams, what I do and what really helps me is we have a technology page inside our Notion, and in the first on top of the page, when everyone goes to the technology page, I provide our mindset and our values that we believe in as a team, and the values such as team contribution is much more important than individual contribution. Helping others is much more important than individual contribution. Things like that. Things like that. Those everyone sees what's really important, and they see this on a daily basis. And then also, if I see something is good, I give feedback. That's been good work on that. I want to see more of this. If there's something that needs to be adjusted, I give also feedback and say as soon as possible and say, okay, hey, maybe this should be the better way to handle this situation.
How would you motivate a leader in a company that doesn't share these values to focus more on this, team contribution versus individual or helping others, especially instead of?
Yeah, yeah. It's all about being. You want to be first the person yourself that you want others to be. It doesn't work like that if you believe in something else and then you try to, make others to be different, but you haven't made the change yourself. So you want to be first a great role model for others. That is the first thing, and that is the best way to encourage good things. And
I was
yeah.
I was wondering more about, we had imagine a company, a corporate setting where managers are very much focused on shipping new features and
Hmm.
how much of the work has been done and how is an individual contributing. Maybe they have some metrics that are focused on the deliveries for each person and everything.
Yeah.
And for them, it might be counterintuitive to think helping others is more important than providing
Hmm.
value yourself because they might not see or it might not have as big of a short term impact as the
Yeah.
individual contribution does. So if you were to advise maybe like a engineering manager in that
Hmm.
type of company, how to or inspire them how to think
Yeah.
about this and why it would make a difference.
This is a really good question, and as an engineering manager, it's hard to make changes and of the things that you don't have control of, and that's the number one thing I also say to aspiring managers and also managers that are already managers. Is you can control what you can control. If you want to make adjustments that of the things that you can't, it's going to be just give you more and more problems than actually good things. So the best way, if you're an engineering manager and you want to, like for example, focus on such things, you can provide suggestions, but then it's going to be either accepted or not accepted. So it always starts from the top. It's if those metrics are very important for, let's call it a CTO or VP of engineering or even a CEO or any other stakeholders, it starts on that part. We need to make sure we are. What I like to say is the way we measure success, the way that this is what we are inspiring people to be doing, right? So if we measure that how many story points are being finished by a specific person, or how many tasks are being finished by a specific person, or how many lines of code has been changed by a specific person, then people are going to be motivated to do those things, right? But if we measure things such as how much are a specific person helping others, are they focusing on challenging requirements? Are they focusing on building the right things? Are they, sharing their knowledge with others? If those are the things that we are looking into, they will also be more inclined to doing those things. So it all starts with the whole vision of the company, organization, engineering organization, and it all starts with the CTO.
Right. Yeah, I like that. Especially if like you're measuring the performance of an individual person, the lines of code or
Yeah,
story points or whatever, and then what happens if this person leaves? You can't rely on the rest of the team in that case, and you won't be able to reach the same potential that you had before.
and also, that specific person is also going to be just focusing on the tasks that they have been assigned to in order to increase the story points as much as they can, right? Because they are
Right.
measured in that way, and they would potentially get promoted because they have delivered that X amount of story points that is more than others, but it's potentially hurting more because others are delivering less, that person delivering more, but we could deliver all more together, right? If
Yeah.
that person would be helping others.
Yep. Yep. Faking the system.
Yeah.
Let's talk about perfectionism a bit. You call this one
Hmm.
of the biggest productivity killers, and I can totally relate, especially when it comes to, you know, not especially when it comes to delivering work in a certain way. So we've been dealing with clients a lot that are they have their own vision of the product. They push hard to do it. It takes years until the final release, and then they can't find the target market that they were trying to get in the first place. And
Yeah.
it's a pattern basically with people who are trying to get everything perfect before releasing, and we can talk a bit more about this in terms of engineers as individuals, but let's look at it from various perspectives in terms of the organization experimenting, how we work on new products from product management, engineering on a higher level, and then individuals themselves and how they can grow within the company.
Yeah, you're totally right about what you said about, for example, especially for startups and new companies, it's really important to move fast and deliver something fast to the users. In engineering it's very counterintuitive to do that. And a lot of reasons are because, for example, in colleges or in universities, we are kind of focused on creating perfect technical solution because that's what expected to be done, but not what actually should be actually built, right? That's not the mindset we have from universities. And that's why a lot of engineers are struggling a little bit with, what's good enough, and let's ship faster. Let's not focus so much on all the fine details and all the fine perfectionism right now. Let's make sure that we get value to the customers first. And we can get so easy to rabbit hole of trying to optimize stuff ahead of time. You may know the principle called Yagni, and that is like you ain't gonna need it. And a lot of teams try to try to guess what is going to be needed in the future. And,
Yeah.
they spend like 2 months or 3 months trying to predict the future. We don't even know what's going to happen in the future. Right? Let's solve the problems we have right now, and that is going to provide the biggest value to the company and to the business, because business comes first, and then it's engineering, and then comes technology. So if we try to make things perfect, we won't get anything done.
How is it organized in your organization to enable this, shipping faster or encourage people
Yeah,
to not focus on the perfect solution?
yeah, it comes very, very similar to what we talk about. What are the expectations, right? And one of the things I have also written inside the technology page is, it's important to focus on challenging requirements and building the right things. That means that everyone should be very interested into the business and the product as well, not only on engineering. So if you're only focused on engineering, you'll be trying to be perfection the technologies. But if you're focused on the product and the business, you will be looking for ways how to provide value to the business, right? So that kind of mindset comes, with all of my teams is on one-on-one meetings, on daily meetings. You always talk about, what can we do today, this sprint, this week, in order to provide value to the business sooner. And that kind of mentality comes to everyone in the team. For example, when we have a new requirement, new functionality, we always look for like what can be the simplest way to deliver this specific thing, and what can be the first iteration that's going to be valuable for the customers. And automatically everyone is thinking in this way. So yeah, it takes culture, it takes values, the right values inside a company, and it takes the right vision as well. And everyone needs to be aligned, especially the product manager, the team lead, the person responsible for the engineering organization, the person responsible for the product organization. That's very important to be aligned on how we are doing things in combination with stakeholders and the CEO as well. We all need to have a good understanding that the biggest value is to, try to not perfect things, try to deliver sooner. Let's get feedback from our users, from our customers, and then we can also add more complexity if we're gonna need it. But a lot of times, what happens is the first version is good enough for the users, and we don't build any new features. We focus on a new separate thing. So that's very funny.
How much of this is done during hiring? So checking if people have that business acumen or are interested in the business and the values, and then on the other side, how much of it is onboarding and instilling this sense of understanding the user and the product and the business.
Yeah, it starts already in the hiring process. I look to hire engineers that are not going to be, just focusing on the latest frameworks and focusing on the latest what's, being the best technical engineer, but also at the same time, being a great team player at the same time, being a great person to work with, and also try to think as a product manager and also have a close eye on the business as well. I'm obviously some engineers are more inclined to do this, some are less. It's not 100% a requirement that they are, strictly really looking into that area, because they can get, pushed into the right direction. They can get mentored. They're going to get coached as well, by people like me. And we will help them to be focusing on this thing. So a lot of it is through the hiring process and also through coaching and mentoring. Those two things are very important. A lot of people don't have this, and it's not a 100% no if they don't have it. As long as they have a keen, they want to learn it, they want to become that person, they want to provide good things for the company, they want to create great things for the organization. As long as they have the right mindset and they're willing to learn, that's very important.
In terms of organization of product and engineering, is that I want to understand the dynamics of the collaboration, or if maybe they are a single team. Because a lot of times, there is a discrepancy in companies that are splitting product and engineering, and then everyone is working on
Yeah.
their own agenda. And I think what you're just describing requires a lot of integration between the two, and product enabling the team to think about the value and the customer and everything.
Yeah. I kind of look at product manager as part of the development team, or we can call it engineers as part of the product team. We
I
are
like
all in
this
this
better.
together. Yeah, we are all in this together. We also have a daily meeting is called Product Daily for a reason. So it's all about what we can do all together to build the best product possible. And we can't do it without product managers, and product managers can't do it without us. It's a symbiotic relationship. So yeah, I always had product managers have always either love me or they hate me. They hated me because I was always challenging requirements, always saying no to things. But then they started to love me because we were delivering things that worked, and we delivered them in a very fast pace, and exactly what was needed for the customers. So that's what I like to say is
So it takes
you
time to
know it
love you, to put it.
yeah. It takes time, and once you get that first win, they start to get confidence, confidence in you. So that's very important. But now, joke aside, it's you both are working together, and I've been also in a company where product and engineering was totally on separate bridges, and they were all. We were all kind of like a blaming each other for problems instead of like working together. And
Yeah.
because of that experience, everywhere I go, I'm always gonna, be very, very, very hard pushy towards making sure we have good relationships with product and engineering. And it starts from the top first, and then it goes to the teams. So whatever we can do to get mutual agreements on things, that's very important. And you need to have product manager inside a team, not outside a team, to be building just PRDs or building documents and just handing over to developers. It's a continuous effort to build the right things, and it needs to go both ways, back and forth. engineers challenging requirements and product managers asking questions to engineers. And without good collaboration, we won't be able to also build great things.
Mm-hmm. Great. Deadlines. You talk about deadlines not being so bad in terms of perfectionism versus progress and everything we discussed before, and I understand where you're coming from. Let's talk a bit about this, like how and later on how to set deadlines properly, or how do you want to maybe scope the scope and everything that you need to do based on a deadline instead of making the deadline based on the time you need to make the perfect solution.
Yeah, it's something that a lot of engineers dread about hearing deadlines, right? Obviously, we've all been
And
there when
estimations.
and estimations as well. Especially when estimating something, we tend to always be very optimistic and say, okay, this can be very easy to be done. But then we spend the whole night trying to persuade others that actually it has been easy, but we've been working the whole night on it, right? So estimations, deadlines, those can be quite negative for a lot of engineers out there, and because they had a bad experience with it. But if you have if you make deadlines the right way, um, you can use them in a way that's going to be very very effective. And we can get back to perfectionism and making things happen. I tend to say that without deadlines, we will be perfecting to infinity. You may know the law, which is Parkinson's law. That is that work expands till the time we have available, right? So if we have 2 weeks, we're going to be perfecting for 2 weeks. If we have 4 months, we will be trying to even perfect it to infinity. So if we have, for example, 1 week to finish this, then okay, let's make sure we finish this and challenge requirements and see if we can't actually build everything. Let's see what we can move out of the scope, right? That's the way to go. So that can be a powerful motivator and powerful kind of a indicator for us to move forward instead of trying to endlessly optimize things. There are two things very important for me in terms of engineering in general, which is I'm a big fan of simplifying solutions, and the best thing I like to see is a simple solution to a complex problem. So if there's a complex problem that the stakeholders are dreading that about this problem and thinking, okay, we will need to work on 2 months or 3 months for this. We need to do this and that. But then we find a really simple solution that's going to be either potentially buying a new tool or buying something that already exists, or maybe just removing a certain piece of code that can be even the best solution, right?
And
That is the
lines of code
yeah.
can measure this.
Yeah. I mean, we could measure lines of code, but then, we are removing code. So you will actually hurt that engineer who actually made a really great decision.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense, right? I like to say code is liability. And the more code we have, the more maintenance we need to do and the more time we need to spend on actually making sure that things are going to be working correctly. So, less code, less problems. So that's a fact. And you mentioned already, the scope being variable instead of the time. That got us into the right mentality, which is challenge requirements, building the right things, and also reducing the scope in order to deliver faster to the customers. So it all kind of helps you to go in this area. And if you say, okay, we have 2 weeks available to finish this, let's talk about how we can do it instead of moving the deadline to be 2 months. How we can deliver in 2 weeks. That's the right mentality, and you can make decisions a lot easier because you actually have one constraint in place, which is time, and you just need to focus on the scope. How you can do it, that's where creativity comes into for every engineer.
I love it. I wanted to ask you something to follow up, but it just slipped my mind. Maybe we'll come back to it later. we talked about how to create this culture of collaboration and teamwork and being empathetic and everything. And you say in your newsletter that the biggest reason people leave a company is because of bad management. And I want to spin this a bit to say that the biggest reason for bad team performance is poor management. And I want to focus a bit on this. It can involve bad metrics, as we just spoke, like lines of code or story points or things that are empowering people to game the system instead of being more productive. Then we can talk about micromanagement or focusing on individual performance versus team performance, and all of that together. Basically, it's, as you said before, it comes from the top down. So managers can affect and influence the performance of the team significantly. How first what are the things that you have encountered around all of this, and how can we ensure we are good managers that actually empower team performance?
Yeah, it's we said before a couple of minutes before about it all starts with great culture and with the good atmosphere inside the organization, good teams, and good overall let's call it company. That's the first prerequisite. But then also, it's not there's a lot more things that, for example, you as a middle manager can also do in order to inspire things. Even, for example, if that's not the culture that already that is already in place inside a company, there is things that you can do to inspire good things inside your team. I like to also say that working for a great manager is a lot better to work for a bad manager inside a good company. Sorry, let's call it bad organization, and work for a good manager. It's better than working for a bad manager inside a good organization, because you have a lot more direct contact with that specific person.
Mm-hmm.
And managers needs to be leaders, not just managers. And if they're leaders, they will be automatically inclined to making the right things for their reports. And that means trying to find what is going to be the best things for their reports, helping them to grow in their careers, helping them to learn new things, giving feedback. They don't blame for the mistakes. They actually help them to learn, and they understand that it's a probably somewhere in the process, not something that someone did, but it's a problem in the process, because we are all in this together. The whole team is working towards releasing this feature. It can never be just one person mistake. So, and also, positivity is a big thing in managers. If they have a positive outlook on things, if they look at the glass half full, then the teams are going to automatically look at it that way. So good managers also, they tend to try to navigate and make things better for the overall organization, because they are leaders. They are also great at managing up, and trying to inspire good things from others, not just their team directly, but also from their peers and also from their manager as well. Obviously, you don't have control of everything. You can control what you can control, but you can do a lot of things, to kind of still have a good atmosphere inside a team, even if maybe like overall culture is not correct. And it starts with managers providing that, and good managers can do that. But it's a tough job if you have a bad kind of like a if you have a bad manager and your manager. It's hard then to navigate the relationship with your manager, and then also at the same time be a great amazing manager for your teams.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But yeah. Those are some kind of like outlines what managers can still do.
And I believe here, especially with bad management or bad company culture, the heroism or that individual contribution and focusing on maybe being there for the weekend deployments or staying late to finish something that's been pressing on you because you didn't descope but you agreed on the deadline anyway, and all of these things, make an individual want to do something more themselves, instead of working together with the rest of the team to create long-term environment where everyone can thrive. And I guess it connects a lot with the topic of bad management and everything, but I want to touch a bit on this.
Yeah, it does as well because a good manager spots such behaviors and they try to mitigate it even before it happens. And good manager will know the importance of consistency and importance of predictability because if you have for example one hero inside a team who is going to just okay, take over everything and work on the weekends or work like long hours, 16 hours a day, um, they can create good work short term, but they won't be able to sustain this long term. And the problem is it's not sustainable. It comes out with unrealistic expectations after. I'll give you my example. For example, when I grew from senior software engineer to team lead, I wanted to be included in all the details. I wanted to be the best engineer in the team. I wanted to have the whole overview of what everything that we are doing on a very detailed level. I spent long hours every day. I spend weekends doing that. I spent weekends working on tasks, and I spent normal working hours working with stakeholders and my team and product managers and other team leads. So yeah, but
80 hours weeks.
yeah, 80 hours weeks, and this got me close to burning out, and it made me rethink what actually I should be doing. So it's not that's not the way to go. That's why also I'm not a fan of heroism in our industry because I much more value good work long term. Let's say 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, even more. I mean, we are all doing this for the long run, not just for the short run, for a couple of weeks, and then we don't need to do this anymore. No, that's not the case, right? We need to make it sustainable, and we need to find a way to do good work, and within the hours that we have, we need to be productive as much as possible. That's the way to go, and we need to have a good work-life balance. We need to be focusing on other things, well-being in general. Without this, it's going to be hard to be doing good work. So yeah, those things kind of are, it may sound great to be a hero, but actually you might be hurting yourself more and your team more as well because it's not sustainable.
So you're a villain disguised as hero, basically.
Yeah. You need to be a long-term, let's call it long-term hero in a way that you know that you are still delivering great things on a daily basis, on a weekly basis. That's my definition of actual hero.
Right. I just remembered what I wanted to ask you earlier when we were talking about the scope and planning and everything. And not only about that, but also with the importance of understanding the business value, the customers, and everything for the whole team. There are companies that are involving their engineers in discussions with customers or kind of like a customer support occasionally, or at least reading the feedback from customers or the issues that they are facing. I wanted to understand how, because from what I've heard, you are very, your culture is very oriented towards the value and everything within the business. Um, do you do any of this? How do you incorporate their feedback?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of doing this, and this is very important. This is very important too, but it does matter based on the company and or the organization and the product. And I'll give you, in our case, we have our customers in Malaysia and Thailand, and most of our engineering team and development team is not in these places, or they are not speaking Thai, or they're not speaking Malaysian. So it's harder to do such interviews. So what we do here is we are very prone towards asking for feedback, asking questions, and making sure that our product manager is exposing as much business problems as possible to the team. And we also provide, let's say, we give transparently to everyone all the what's been talking with our users, what we are talking from the customer support perspective, what we are discussing with users. But yeah, asking questions is the way to go for us at the moment, and asking as much, what are the problems for our customers, what are the problems for our users, what are the problems that the users are facing, and so on. But yeah, in a company or in a product where there would be international users, then it's very important. What I like to have in mind is like shadowing a sales call. That's a very great thing to do if you have like a sales team, and if you're like in a B2B business, then you have like engineers to be shadowing a sales call, and they can also answer any kind of technical questions that specific customers may have. That's a very great thing to do. And then the other thing is also shadowing a UX team. For example, if you have a UX team, UX researchers, they are conducting interviews with specific users, and they are then also having like an engineer being a part of that. And if there's any technical question, they would be also the one answering, but they would just get in context from that perspective. Another thing that also worked really well is just going to the sites. For example, I was in a company where we were building a POS system for payment system, right? And we went to the restaurant. We'd actually use this payment system, and we were asking questions about how they are using, about how they are they happy with it? What problems do they have with it? Do they see any particular issues and stuff like that? We just want to get overall feel and stuff like that. They also taken our order with it. We saw how fast they can take an order. We saw how fast they can take the payment and stuff like that. And that's very helpful. Just going on site, and if that's possible, right? And the last thing, just it's good to also do potentially to kind of like volunteer for having like a discussion either with a customer, with a user, like also doing technical support. Then we are basically part of the support team, but doing the technical support, like an on-call rotation. That's very great to have like an on-call for between engineers in the team, and that person is kind of the one who is answering questions from customer support, and potentially also going on the customer support calls and stuff like that. That's very great thing to do. A lot of companies don't do such things. But I would say for all engineers that want to do this, they should be asking for this in their organizations. And a lot of times, organizations might do such things, even if they don't have this planned on a let's say insider process.
Yeah. I guess it would be like organizations that have split product and engineering might be the ones that have less connection with the customer success team as well, because everyone is working in silo. If you're focused on,
Yeah.
the value, the customer, the product, then you'll likely have this integrated in some way or another. The final thing, the controversial one, metrics. We talked a bit about the ones that are kind of hurting performance. In your experience, how can an organization create metrics in a way that would actually support performance? Should they focus on the product level instead of individual level, and then have individual performance evaluation on a more one-to-one basis? Or are there more automated ways, productive ways to evaluate individuals and teams, as part of the company growth?
Yeah, that's a really good question, and that's why I'm a fan of OKRs and providing company-wide objectives, because it makes like everyone all together as a team to focus on that specific goal, right? And then you want to map specific department goals to the end goal, and we are all working towards going into that direction, right? That already gives us the right focus. For example, we want to increase growth, or we want to cut down the customer acquisition cost. Then we are all working to achieve that. So that is the first thing that I like to see. Just just company-wide objective. What are we trying to do as a company? How can we measure success together? How can we know that we are doing great work? Because just delivering things without actually knowing if they're going to be valuable, it's not going to provide the best results at the end. And that kind of mentality comes down into every department as well, right? For example, in engineering, it's important to measure things such as, PR cycle time, code review size, how much deployments are we doing, how much releases are we doing, how fast we can resolve issues, how fast we can get from actual creating of a task and then to finishing a task. That's very important. And the more the company grows, the more you need to have such metrics. But the way you interpret this is very, very, very important. You don't want to treat this metrics as the source of truth and say, okay, this person, because they are not doing the same specific amount of things as the other person, can be viewed as less performing than the other. That's not the way to go. The interpretation is the problem. So that's why we need to have a separate kind of like measurements for specific individuals. And that's where we get to those specific things like, are they focusing on building the right things? Are they challenging requirements? Are they helping others? How are they contributing to the success of the whole team organizations? Are they hosting learning sessions, learning lunches with the whole team, and making sure they are expanding knowledge from others? What improvements have they implemented, themselves proactively, and make sure that other engineers are adopting these improvements? Those kind of things are what I like to look at individual level. Things such as we talked about lines of code, amount of tasks, story points, number of hours being online. That's also what I saw in some particular case. People track that as well, but that is not sustainable, and that's going to provide a lot of wrong things. So use metrics that are going to be use metrics for orientation and more like for high level overview of how things are going. But then we need to have specific things that let's call it managers, team leads, or tech leads needs to take a look at in every individual specifically. Needs to have eyes wide open for such traits and not be just focusing on tasks, story points and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. To finish off, it was an amazing conversation, a lot of interesting insights, and a lot of different points that I loved. What is the one thing you want to wrap up with?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of how to say team orientation in software development. I like to say software development is a team sport, and great teams build great software. So we should always have this in mind. Let's put our egos aside as engineers, and let's focus on what's going to be the best for the team, what's going to be the best for the organization, and that's how we can provide the most value. Just focusing on our own tasks is not going to be the best thing for us, for the team, for the business.
I love it. Excellent way to finish this off. Thank you once more, Gregor. It was a pleasure to have you, and I hope everyone enjoys this as much as I did.
Thank you for having me.